welcome back to Ask a Theorist or Two. We have already on our website had dozens of visitors and
floods of visitors.
So many questions it's hard to sort through, but of the two questions I think we're going to try to answer both of them
at least for now.
Saxfish asks,
or saxophone fisherman as I like to call you,
asks, how is modal jazz structured? That's an excellent question that I've been asked many times. Sax. You mind if I call you Sax? Or Mr. Fish?
Saxophone fisherman.
The truth is, modes belong to the Middle Ages. They come from the church modes, Dorian, Phrygian, and so forth. That was mode 1 and 2, and if you want to refer to a hypomixolydian, you can do that, but you're not actually going to be writing in that, because the church modes are far more complex. They have to do with where you begin, where you end, where you spend most of your time, your psalm tone in between, the reciting tone, the dominant. Jazz music doesn't deal with any of that kind of stuff. The only reason that we ever do the modes with our fancy names is for the sake of being able to more facilely play scales on guitar. That's all that it's about. It's a myth. The entire church mode thing is a myth.
Now, in defense of your answer, Mr. Saxophone Fisherman, yes, there's a very real sense in which a song can be based around some central notes. The blues scale, the 12-bar blues, is really mixolydian, experimenting with that lowered seventh. Bum, dum, dum, bum. Green Onion. That little organ riff rocking back and forth between a minor 1 and a major 4, very reminiscent of Dorian mode. In your solo, especially as a saxophonist, supposing you're a saxophonist and not just one who fetches the saxophones, you can really think of that mode or that series of notes, that sequence, and really harp on those.
So, does it really matter? Do you have to have those names? Just learn your C scale. Start on scale degree 6, go up to the other 6. You're in minor mode. Start on 2, go to 2. You can call it Dorian if you want to. Just learn the C scale, and you'll have a pattern of whole steps and half steps that'll work, because there are enough accidentals along the way that it doesn't really matter what you call it.
Or as a soloist especially, why don't you go ahead and learn the modes and play through that series of notes, recognizing in Phrygian we're going to start with that half step, and recognize it that way, and that's perfectly legitimate as well.
We have a second question that was asked by Michael. Was there a second shooter on the grassy knoll?
Michael, I'm not sure how you came up with this question watching our first video, but we respect your question nonetheless, and it deserves a fair reply.
Listen, I was there, so I know. Actually, I was in Cincinnati at the time, and I was 6 years old, but what I'm saying is I was alive at the time, so that makes me an expert, and not you, Michael. You weren't there. So I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of conspiracy theories. The truth is, there was only one shooter. He was in the building. There was one shooter. There were 2 shots. End of story. He's dead. Let's move on.
Were there 2 shooters on the hill? Michael, I think really what you need to look here is what happens after 2. 2, 5. 2 inevitably will lead to 5. Sometimes interrupted by 4, but always building up to 5. 2, 5, and then 1. 5 is always going to lead to 1, unless 5 leads to 6, in which case there's some deception in your question.
A conspiracy.
So, Michael, I'm afraid really you're asking the wrong question. Really the question is, at what point did the cadence occur? As the good book says, cometh neither voice nor cry, yet we know for thee today every pain hath passed away.
I can see that. Thank you.
It.
Well, there you have it. We invite you to send us more questions to Ask a Theorist.
Or two.